Hey Dave Knight, I usually give you a bonus video for a week, and this is my bonus video. We're going to look back at Thursday and Tuesday when you should throw the towel in um, as far as, so this is the bonus video. This right here is the high of, the session being the high of I believe the morning high. Yes, it was the morning high prior to the 8 o'clock mark. Now, 8 o'clock rolls through right through here, and basically you know what happens. The market doesn't look back. It's pretty much by the rumor at this point, the drone attack, whatnot. But there was a decent shorting opportunity, just like on Tuesday, and when it failed, you should have walked away from it. So when was that opportunity? Let's get the screen draw tool out. Let me find it first. What the hell did I do with my screen draw tool? Hold on. Let me find the screen draw. There it is. All right. So obviously we break above R3, and we pretty much know here's the 8 o'clock mark. So we know that we're up big on the day. Now, without the news, without the rumor, I believe up here would have been the top. Why? Well, because of all the volume that preceded it. And also this rounded top that was coming through here. Each one of these little highs are just barely making it higher than the next high. So when I got short right here, it was planned. You can see my little red X right there. I planned this trade, that I was looking at this, and knew that we had an opportunity roughly in this area to take a trade. And I tried again right here too, by the way. So each high was just barely going higher than the next. And right through here, it struggled to get up. All the other ones, it moved quickly to move up, move quickly. But this one here, well, let me get rid of, let's go back here and look at them again. So look, we bust through. This is pretty high. This is pretty long. This one just barely. This one goes up, and then this one barely moves up. Each one of these, you can see it's a topping pattern is what I'm getting at. So in my humble opinion, and if you look at a 1, 2, 3 setup, you'll find that this is the first time that you could actually take advantage of a 1, 2, 3 setup after the 8 o'clock open. So two things confirmed that this was the top. Now, the way I like to stage in is one up top high and then one down below if I got enough room to do it. Now, I can't do that 2-contract trading strategy against the 30K. It just doesn't work because you got too much exposure and leverage against just a $500 loss. You just cannot trade 2 contracts in the crude oil market against the $500 loss. It's physically, mentally too challenging. Now there is an exception, but I'm not going to go into the exception to that general rule. You can see my exit here, but if I just hold this up here, let me show you where the failure of this trade would have been. Now, this is a 2p down, excuse me, 1.5p down from entry point, and I re-entered right here. But anyway, so we come through here, we go back up, we come back down, we go up, we come back down. So what we start seeing is each one of these little stops is not so great. It's not, and what I wanted at this point if the market right here, ignore this, ignore what's happening here. With all things being equal, and if there wasn't the drone situation, this right here probably is the area that the market breaks down, or it would have broke down through here. So these are the areas that the market would have busted down and went down maybe 3 or greater P from up there on the top. So know where your signals are and know where you're going to exit. Now, in hindsight, obviously hindsight works well, but this was my short strategy coming into the market. I knew where I thought that it would slow down, and I saw it slowing down, a rounded top, right? We see the rounded top right here. And I knew that I wanted to get in at this level, and especially after we form a 1, 2, 3 right through here. And now I feel really confident that we've got a good chance of winning this trade now, all based upon volume that's already been previously shown, and enough to be able to grab a 2 to a 3p move. Now, it only went down 1.5, by the way. Now, the reason I believe it only went down that short is basically because of the buy the rumor that I already talked about previously. Now, where you should have given up the ghost and said enough's enough is when it got up over here. Basically, when I kept trying to short, and where I should have stopped trying to short the market is when it reached above that 46 level right here. Once it proved that it did not want to come down, especially in this area, it proved that it did not want to come down. Now, it might have stopped here and then went down right there, so it was still valid at this point. But once it crosses over that area that was showing that it was stronger to the upside than into the downside, then we get into the dangerous area of trading. At least if I would have followed my own advice, basically. So from that point forward, I had no business shorting the market at all. We end up making a high right here, but you can see that high is based upon really no volume when it finally does make the high. So in actuality, if I was a smarter man, just like on Tuesday, go back and look at your charts. I'm not going to cover Tuesday, I'm just going to cover today on this video. Go back and look at your charts on Tuesday and look what happens at the 8 o'clock mark off the rumor. In this case, it was Trump. This case, it was the drone strike the drone being struck down. So 2 days, and it's all based upon the Iranian conflict, whatever you want to call it, America versus Iran, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it's, but in a normal market with this kind of movement, I would put a lot of money that this would have been the top for the day until you would have seen some red bar volume on the other side to stop the down. So once it broke through here, this would have been, and then once it broke through it on the other side, once it crossed over that 46 level in the day, later in this session, that's when you as a short trader, especially since that's what I am pretty good at more times than not, this is where I should have thrown the towel in. And if I would have just followed my own advice, believe it or not, instead of losing this day right here, I had the opportunity to go up 4 ticks taken all the losses that I had accumulated at that point, and right here, I could have went up about 4 ticks, knowing that we went down 1.5 last time. So, but I was so focused on the market falling that I didn't take the gift horse that I normally do, because I really believed incorrectly that the rumor was already priced in 2 prices after it crossed that 46 mark up there. That we had already got the rumor part of it, and now we were in the sell the news scenario. Now, I could have handled the losing day, and then if I would have stopped here, I think I'd have been only down minus like 12 or 14 ticks at this point. Maybe better. I think I was down minus 7. Anyway, I think I was. Anyway, I was down. This would have made me up 4. So, no, excuse me. This would have made me up about 12 right here. I said 4, but it was about 12. So right here was about 12 ticks. Up here was where I would have been at 4. I'm not mistaken. And you can see where I shorted there, and then I got out here. So at this point in time, if I would have held the original entry point back here, when I believed that the top was in, and maybe, you know, ideally I could have held back here or up here. There was another entry. Let's cover another entry point now that I'm thinking about it. So this entry point didn't work out, but there was another entry point. It was a GAN signal. 1, 2, 3, and then you have your 4th time coming through. So this was a nice setup. This is the one that I wished I could have held. This is the one probably wins my trading day. Because this one here goes 1.5p. Now it comes back and knocks me out. As we'll see right here, I take this little win right here, and it goes up through here, and I wasn't able to stay in the trade. But anyway, I don't know if that helps you or not, but the first time that we finally had an entry point on this day, and also the same place that you want to be getting away from it. So here's the rumor, and I knew about the rumor at some point in this period of time. I believe I knew about the rumor of the drone strike, or the drone being struck, the drone getting hit, because it was known at some point. I knew about it. And I believe I knew it within the first few minutes of trading. And then once I saw it top, right here, you can see that's where I placed that entry in there. I was looking at each one of these little individual areas as it was going up, and you could see that it was rounding. And what I knew from experience is it was forming a rounded top. An RT, let's call it. And this, if I would have held this entry by itself and just held it, you know, it might have been a different day for me all over. Who's to say what my day would have looked like if I would have just said, you know what, I'm holding here, and then if I go long above that, then the rumor is not done with. So I knew at some point over there, once we broke, I knew from somewhere between here and when we did break over 46, I did know that that Iran supposedly had shot down our drone. Anyway, so there's some food for thought. I don't know if that'll help you, but it definitely helps me to revisit my trading days, especially the days that I let get away from me. I notice I want to be short. I see this is what works for me. Now, what works for me might not work for you. In hindsight, you're always right, right? I should have just went long at the 8 o'clock open. If you look back at Tuesday, you'll see a similar situation, except that if I'm not mistaken, on Monday or Tuesday, it makes more like of a run like this. It goes up steeper. In my humble opinion, what I was looking at was that rounded top and believing at this point in time that the rumor is in, and we were at the sell the news part of the trade. And like I said before, if I would have focused that entry point and that exit point and said once we get across that line, the short side's over until we see capitulation, I would have been a better overall winning strategy for me. And if I would have went long above that, which I would call Bugs Bunny, if you can't beat them, join them, which I do occasionally. But I was so seeing red that I missed the blue going up. Hopefully you can do better than me. But there's some, I had a question today and I thought I would share. Where was the decision point in the day? And the decision point in the day between long and short, in my humble opinion, was fought right here. All right, that'll do it for me. Bye for now.